Welcome to the Theater of Others podcast. My name is Adam Marple, and I'm the co-artistic director of the Theater of Others. With the COVID-19 pandemic forcing a shutdown and reevaluation of space and gathering, we at the Theater of Others are thinking about what stories we need and how best we can share them. We believe space is psychology, and it informs the way in which an audience interacts and reacts to what is presented to them. We create uniquely theatrical events in bespoke sensory performance spaces crafted to encourage curiosity and grant the audience permission to commune with the play. Now that space has moved online, how can we encourage interaction and action amongst an audience virtually? The Theater of Others produces plays that both welcome and challenge the audience. We are committed to international collaboration and are a laboratory that helps artists grow through intensive study of their craft. The Theater of Others creates a shared community of artists and audiences for the purpose of exploring the most profound issues of our lives and times. We believe the play watches the audience. The audience is necessary, and they are witness to what happens. And you get to be witness to us making that happen. The purpose of this podcast is to open up our process and let you in. We're peeling back the curtain, so to speak, and encouraging you to follow along, to ponder, prod, and question, to join us and criticize us if need be. Being a witness is no passive task, and it requires much from you. Are you up for the journey? On the podcast today from Melbourne, Australia, our co-artistic directors Budi Miller and myself in Cairo, Egypt. This podcast contains explicit language.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Budi.
How you going?
Hey, I'm doing all right. It's a beautiful day here in Cairo. Spring has sprung, and lovely, lovely weather. So I'm in a very good mood.
Wow. Okay, so you're having your first day of spring, and we're having our first day of fall.
It's starting to get cold there.
Well, it is the coldest house in Melbourne, so
I only know Melbourne as cold. I've never been there any other time of the year, so I've only ever know it as like needing to bundle up in your house. I don't know that it exists in that Australia is a hot place at times.
Melbourne's like San Francisco. There's like 1 month, 3 weeks of summer, and the rest is moderately bearable.
Moderately bearable. Okay.
Yes,
I could
that's
bear
the
it
weather.
today a little bit. I can only moderately bear it today. Okay.
Every now and then it'll get fresh,
Fresh is nice.
well, I had a really beautiful day on the lanai. The lanai in the back with the tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was like cool, humid, misty, rainy, kind of raining, but it was like in the atmosphere of the canopy of trees. And because we have the furniture from the Brunswick house now, so it's like, so we put it on one of the lanais.
Can you help people out to understand the difference between a lanai and a porch for us lay people?
Aren't they the same?
Yeah, they are. You're just choosing a bougie word.
I'm like, aren't they the same?
Yeah.
Well, the lanai is for old
Floridians.
middle-aged women in Florida.
Right, exactly. Is that what you've become? That's what you're growing
That's
into?
what I've become. I am officially moving into my golden years
You're a golden girl now?
as a golden black girl. Oh, golden black girl.
Nice. You're definitely
I'm
a
a golden
Blanche,
black girl.
for sure.
Thank you for. Wow, Adam. Wow. And you're a Dorothy.
I'll take it. I wouldn't think it'd be any other way.
I thought
You
it
wanna
was
be-
more of a Rose. I have my Rose moments.
You have your Rose moments, but I would
Rose
say you're a
used to
Blanche.
throw down in the bedroom too. She just didn't let people know.
Yeah,
Okay,
she
maybe
was.
I
She
am
was.
Blanche. No, I'm a Sophia.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any kids.
No.
I have lots of kids. One of my children is a producer of this show.
That's right. Yeah.
I have lots of kids. I have lots
Mhm.
of kids out there.
Well, thank you for being a
Thank
friend.
you for being a friend. travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true, you're a friend and a confidant. And if we threw a party and invited everyone we knew, it would be the biggest, biggest, and the pride. Thank you for being a friend. It reminds me of my grandma's house. Oh my God, I just had an image of my grandma's bedroom. Wow, when my grandmother was dying, because you know that I spent the last month of my grandmother's life with her, plus some change, and I slept with her in the evenings because I had jet lag, and so I had the evening shift, and that what was on TV. It was the Golden Girls
Mm-hmm.
and SVU.
Oh God.
That was what I watched.
Yep. Yep. No, hey, I remember it was what was it, Friday nights, and after Golden Girls was Empty Nest, and I watched both those
Wow,
shows. And if I could stay up, because
wow,
if I could stay up, it was the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. I remember those days.
wow. Adam, you're showing your age.
You know, you know the Golden Girls actually weren't much older than you are right now when they started filming. And I'm not saying that as a thing against you. I'm saying that as at how I'm saying how different the world.
Wow.
No,
Wow, Adam Marple. Wow.
okay, they weren't much older than I am right now when they were doing that. That's how much life has changed of what was considered old
They
back
were not in their
then.
40s. They were not in their 40s.
They were in their 50s. I'm gonna
That's
check it
my
out right now.
age, I know. Yes. And Estelle Getty was the youngest
Two
one in the
years.
cast,
Yeah,
and she played the grandmother.
yeah. Blanche Devereaux was 53 years old. Yep.
Why do you keep bringing up Blanche? What about Rose?
I'm looking. That's just it. Just said that she was the youngest at 53. Okay.
Wow.
Betty White was 55. B. Arthur was 54. Estelle Getty was 62.
I thought Estelle Getty was the youngest.
No, no. Rue McClanahan was the youngest, 51. Anyway, nobody comes here to
Which
listen
one
to this
was Rue
podcast about the Golden
McClanahan?
Girls. Blanche.
Who was Rue McClanahan?
Blanche.
I thought you said she was 53.
No, she's 51. My bad. Anyway, nobody's
She's
coming to Key
literally
about
my
this.
age.
Yes, exactly.
Literally my age. I am literally in my Blanche years. Oh my God.
Okay. To quote Jack, I don't even know who these people are. Let's not talk about this anymore. We're very, very old.
Oh my God. I'm literally in my Blanche years. Wow. Well, you know, Blanche is the new Barbie. Wow. Oh my God. Okay. So yes, I was on the night. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So then what is it all for then, Adam? What is it all for? This life. It's...
Who knows? Yeah. No, no, Jack. No. Jack
Oh
just put
no,
in
what
for
did
the.
Jack say?
He just looked up Blanche and he found Streetcar Named Desire. Is that who we're talking about? No,
Oh
Jack.
no.
Look
He
up the
put a
Golden
streetcar
Girls.
name as oh
Yeah.
my God.
No, look up the Golden
Oh
Girls,
my
Jack.
God.
That's what we're talking about.
Wow.
As a
Wow.
budding
Just
gay, you
wow.
should definitely watch the Golden Girls.
I mean, that's a staple. You won't
Yeah.
you're actually not gay if you don't know the Golden Girls.
Yeah. You don't have your toaster yet.
Wow, he doesn't know the Golden Girls? Oh, but Jack, you're deprived. This child is deprived.
You're not a real
I
gay.
just need to make a playlist for him, and then
Yes.
and he's not allowed to leave the house until he answers all the quizzes.
There you go.
And just all the dittos. I'll give him a ditto.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Yes. What is it all for, Adam? What is it all for?
Sages and scholars throughout history have been asking this question.
Well, I'm at this. Well, in my Blanche years,
In your
in
Blanche
my
years.
Blanche years.
As I approach my Blanche
Wow,
years, yes.
wow, wow. Well, I'm actually verklempt. I'm literally in my Blanche years. Okay, so does that? But I don't. I do feel like Blanche. Blanche was like she was a whippersnipper. That's what
She
they
was
call him
out
here. They
there.
call they call him whippersnipper.
I disagree.
Yeah, yeah. And I have her figure. I have her eggplant figure.
She had some
It's
junk in the trunk.
hourglass when I wear my corset.
There you go.
I
God.
have the Blanche Devereaux Bade, baby. Bade. Okay, well, now that I know that I have officially reached my golden years, I am not gonna give a fuck.
There you go.
I'm gonna be just as rowdy and naughty as my golden girls.
Yeah.
It's funny because I always thought I was a golden girl at like 16 years old, and
At
now
heart.
I'm literally living the life of the golden girls.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, what is life for, Adam? What is it all for?
If you have an
Need
answer,
your help.
help me out, because you know, every day trying to figure it out, just like everybody else.
Okay, so if with that being said, what is theater for?
Oh, well, now we can get into a conversation.
Wow. So you are accepting my segue.
The challenge. The challenge, yeah. Challenge every single day to answer what is theater for? Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes. What?
What is theater for, Adam Marple? If I'm in my Blanche years, that means that I have 50 more to go.
Great. Fantastic.
So the next 50 years, what is theater for?
Mm-hmm. So that's a great topic for a podcast today. As we continue to try to define what theater is and see if this definition works for us instead of Merriam-Webster's definition. If we're going to define it as such, then why are we doing it? What is it for? What is its purpose? Is it
Okay, so what's our
entertainment?
current what is our current definition?
Our
It's
current
been
definition.
evolving with our guests. So
It
where are
has
we
been
at now?
evolving. Hold on. Our current
Taylor really put us
definition.
through the ringer. He was like, he put that
Yeah,
PhD on it and was like, the doctor says,
yeah, I question that because he was talking about reality. He was questioning the real part of things. He was questioning the
well, he was pushing
alternate
up
realities.
against structure.
It's a question, and this is a topic that nobody wants to get into. How Richard Schechner defined performance and performance studies, and then relegated theater to this very little niche category over here. And
Niche.
so, how do we broaden theater as a category instead of going performance studies, and then you could study this, you could study that, you could study this, and theater is just one part of it. It actually, I think he made theater smaller.
This is great because we're gonna have John Amy on to talk about Richard Schechner because he was in Schechner's first class in Louisiana, the beginning of theater performance and the beginning of his PhD, which was in the realm of Schechner's ideas. So he was
Yeah,
that class that like shook up um investigation of theater praxis. So
yeah,
let's put the Schechner conversation in our back
yes,
pocket because I
yes,
I think John Amy is gonna really bring it home because I've
I
got
hope so.
issues with Schechner as well. And
Same.
but John, as you know, when you know someone, it's completely different than the scholarship.
Yeah, of course, of course. I don't. Yeah, I think again we'll talk about this later, but I think what he did then was great, but I think it has led us to a very narrowing of the art form, and I think that those are the unintended repercussions of where we're at right now, and we need to shake it up again. We need to shake up the idea of what theater is, which is why we're trying to define it for ourselves, at least for ourselves, not for anybody else. Nobody has to take our definition, but for ourselves and our company. The current definition doesn't work for us. And it's more along the lines of what Schechner was saying, what performance is, or in the realm of.
But I also feel like and this was always what I was battling with when I actually went into an institution for learning. Like, I hated my theater study classes. I wanted to be my studio classes. I wanted to make art. I wanted to go up. I wanted to work, and it was like, you got to learn about theater. You've got to learn about theater. You got to learn about theater. I said, I don't fucking care. I want to get up and perform. I remember it so vividly. It was in Daniel Banks's class. And, and I was like, and I had said something, and he goes, "Yeah, you're like one of those actors." I was like, "What the fuck does that mean?" He's like, "You want to go and..." No, it wasn't Daniel Banks. It was a white woman. Sorry, Daniel, you did not say that to me.
Wow, it's yin and yang right there. Daniel Banks, hip hop theater.
Yeah, we gotta get Daniel on the podcast to defend himself. Daniel, you're being sequestered. You're coming onto the podcast to defend yourself. No, it wasn't.
Budi called
Daniel.
You a white woman.
The reason why, the reason why, and I did not call you a white woman. The reason why is because my brain, because Daniel is so fucking smart, and that was, Daniel was he was my mentor, for scholarship and what theater can be. And also, like, just as a friend, he just always was so supportive and a guiding light, and wrote recommendation letters for me. He's fantastic. But I always would look at Daniel because he was like this young, weird, tall, brown person that was like the ambiguous, like, race, but that was like so down for brown and black people and smarter than the white people. And I just thought that was the sexiest, coolest, funkiest, almost awesome thing. And so, like, he was also one of the images of giving an example of a person that is not white, that moves in those spaces and that dominates in those spaces and that is successful in those spaces and had a PhD. Like, so he was actually the image for my research of, like, if Daddy can do it, I can fucking do it. Not as, like, I'm comparing, but like it was an example. He was modeling success. And I think the reason why I thought it was Daniel's class, because Daniel had critiqued me on something else. Daniel had critiqued me on, and this is Daniel. He had critiqued me on my first essay when I was talking about theater being in a proscenium stage, and he was like, "You think theater is in a proscenium stage? It's only in the proscenium stage?"
Mm-hmm.
What, he was really challenging that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Good.
so in my brain, that was also the same kind of negotiation I was making as as an amateur actor trying to figure out how what this whole training thing was. That the white woman in the theater studies class that was like, you're an actor's actor, because I had brought up, it's like, I don't care about this history. Isn't that funny? I was like, I don't care about this history. I don't care about dramaturgy. I don't care about what. I want to get up and perform. I want to get up and do it.
How things have changed now.
Actor. So I was at it. I had superimposed all academic critical feedback into one box of my brain.
You know what I've learned more?
Sorry, Daniel, you are not a white woman.
For sure not. You know what I've learned more and more, the more and more I teach, wherever I am in the world, and I think about this myself, and your story just basically proves it, is what we're teaching isn't for them right now. It's for them later. I think back to, because I remember the same thing, and there was things I just was not interested in, and now I'm pretty much obsessed with it. And I'm so glad that I have my notes to think back on, and I go, I wish that I could go back and be in that conversation, but I wasn't ready to have that conversation then. That's not who I was then. But at least it seeped in, and planted the seeds for a conversation that I'm still having today. So I don't get
Well,
disgruntled
I think
anymore.
it's a great way to define the difference between undergraduate and graduate,
Yes.
because undergraduate is what you're learning is not for right now; it's for later when you have a little bit more experience in your body.
Yes.
Graduate
Yes.
school is what you're learning is for right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say, yeah, the same thing in graduate school. I would say all the conversations that were had were the conversations I would needed to be having right then and there. But I do have all of my notes from undergrad, and I go, "Oh God, it was there all along," or "Oh man, look at that! I could have answered that," or "This has been an obsession of mine since 2000," or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for
It's
sure.
like you're physically incapable of actually comprehending the information.
Yeah.
So, with all of that preparation, today,
What is
what
theater
is
for?
theater for?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think I was trying to find this quote. I've mentioned it several times on the podcast before, and I think it comes from the Natya Sastra, and it's
Oh,
the it's the thing of theater has
okay.
to.
So we should talk about the Natya Sastra, because
Okay.
that's essentially a book that was written on the aesthetic value of art in India, and that's where we
Yeah.
get the term ras, spelled Rasa. American Westerners pronounce it as rasa, but but the correct pronunciation is ras.
Yeah.
So the aesthetic value of ras is drawn out on in a long doctrine around the aesthetic value of art in the Natyastra.
Yeah. So I've mentioned this before, and I can't find it. I keep looking for it. I found it before. You can go back and find it in some podcast. I'll look for it myself and see if I can link it in the show notes. But it says that theater has three things that it has to do. It has to answer three questions. It has to do three things. It has to comfort the drunk. It has to answer why are we here, and it has to answer how do we get along. And so for me, that's all I'm ever trying to do as well. And for me, it also goes back to another thing that I always try to use in my work, which is parable, ritual, and spectacle. And I feel like a lot of time people focus on the spectacle part of things. That's the entertainment side of it. We can't get away from it. It's got to be entertaining. We are showmen. We are show people. It is a show. It is a play. It is something that is spectator and audience. It is outwardly focused. So entertainment has to be there. But I feel like a lot of times people are just focused on the entertainment and they're not focusing on the parable and the ritual part. And that's where we get away from this thing where theater can change the person in the space. And that's when people stop thinking about the audience altogether. They stop trying to say something with their work. They stop trying to do something with their work. It's just, let's put on a show. And this is literally how we say, let's put on a show. And then it becomes spectacle, it becomes entertainment, it becomes, why did we choose this play? Why is this play being done? Whose work is getting done? Who are we doing this work for? All those questions kind of go out the window when it just becomes, let's put on a show. I
Can
don't
you
know.
define the difference between parable, spectacle, and ritual?
Parable it's a story. It's how we understand the world. It's how we make sense of that which is going on around us. It's how we make sense of things that we can't quite understand on our own because it's bigger than us, because it's outside of our limited range of my four walls, my family, my neighborhood. Parable puts us in a situation where we can say, "Oh, I understand that person over there because I also have these things." It's
You
letting us.
too?
Hmm?
You too?
Yeah, exactly. It's you too.
And
It's
she told her
basically,
friends, and she told her friends,
yeah, yeah.
and so on, and so on, and so on.
And so it's how we can make recognition instead of every single time we turn on the TV we go, "Huh? What is this? I don't understand it." And you turn it off. It's you can find recognition with everything because You also have problems. You also have a mother. You also have a cat that's gotten sick. You also have a car that's broken down. All of those things in a parable form, bite sized ways of us understanding our life. So that's parable.
Okay, and ritual.
Ritual is how do we exist in the universe? Why are we here? How do we operate in this universe? Where am I just cosmic dust, or is there a sense that I have purpose? Is there before I am born? Is there after I am born? Is there somewhere that I am going, or do I just return to the great cosmic mystery? Ritual allows us to place ourselves in the universe, place ourselves in time and in space and in eternity and the everlasting nothingness or everythingness. And that's where tradition comes in. It's where we follow, that's where religion comes in. That's where theater came out of. And there are so many things that we take for granted as ritual because it just becomes, oh, that's what we always do, without even thinking why we do that thing. So that's
Joseph
ritual.
Campbell says that ritual is myth enacted. It's your performing myth.
Yeah. And what is myth for?
Myth is for all the things you just said.
Yeah. Myth is for that parable. It's for us to understand, oh, you too, and myth enacted is us and the other, us and the universe. And so we can understand each other, and so it's a vertical and a horizontal at the same time, this parable and ritual. And the spectacle is to comfort the drunk. It's so that it's the medicine, making the medicine easy to go down. This parable, this ritual, these hard things. It's a spoonful of sugar. It has to be, of course. Brecht, the great person who wants everything to be a lesson for his audience, was also a showman. He was also wanting it to be a spectacle. It's always needing to be aesthetically pleasing, whatever aesthetically pleasing means at that time period for those people.
Which is why the Balloon Ensemble loves Robert Wilson's work. Exactly. Brecht said that Robert Wilson is the closest to his aesthetic.
I don't think Brecht said that, because Brecht was dead by that time, but the point is taken.
No. Do you know how old Robert Wilson is? Do you know how old Robert Wilson is?
I do know how old Robert Wilson is, but Brecht was dead before Robert Wilson was making work in the late 60s.
When did Brecht die? When did Brecht die?
1950.
Boom.
Boom.
When was Einstein?
When was Einstein on the beach?
Yeah, and that's when Robert Wilson got his big public recognition. But he was making stuff before that. Okay, so when was Einstein on the beach?
1970. 20 years after Brecht died. But Brecht said, before Wilson was just a little boy, and he said, there's a little boy in Texas who's going to grow up and do the kind of work that my company, which will still exist 50 years from now, he's going to be the progenitor of my work.
Yes, his soul said that. His soul. It was in a reading. It was in a psychic reading that Robert Wilson had.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Apparently, according to you, yeah.
Allegedly. Allegedly. Well, I'm not going to court.
You just put allegedly next to everything I say. Just exactly. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen and non-binary conforming individuals, please just put allegedly next to everything I say. Oh my God. Speaking of which, I'm sorry, I have to.
Digression.
Yes, I have to, because I've started watching Schitt's Creek again from the beginning, and I did not realize that season 1 was so good, because it took me a while to buy into the show.
Yeah,
but season 1 is really fucking funny. It's really good. There's a line that Alexis says that I'm like, this is brilliant writing. She says, "Well, I'm basically sample size." Allegedly.
I saw what's the movie that I saw? What's the name of the movie that he just did? Dan Levy.
Who?
Dan Levy.
Okay, he did a movie?
He did a movie recently, and it's called Good Grief. And I
Okay.
realize that I really like him in Schitt's Creek. He's a writer on Schitt's Creek, so like what I realized is like, oh, it's him. Not that Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, and everybody else they're fantastic, but like watch Good Grief. It's it's not a comedy, and it's really kind of tragic. Good Grief. Yeah, it's. I mean, I don't think I was spoiling it for you. It's about death and it's about grief, but he's such a beautiful writer and such a beautiful like interpreter of his own writing as well that like
Mm.
you find the endearingness it's endearing to that, so really really lovely. So anyway, since we've digressed on
I'll watch it.
Shit's Creek,
I'll watch
yeah,
it.
it's on Netflix, or it should be on
Well,
Netflix.
I think this also kind of goes into alignment of what we're trying to define in this podcast is because I think the reason why that show became such a huge success is because there is there's a human connection that is made.
Mm.
And I think that's what theater is for. That a human
Yeah,
connection has been made.
that's where I think that's where I feel always the problem with just entertainment, because I feel like if it's just being performed at me, then there's not a human connection. And I keep saying again and again, like it's so expensive to go out and see a show, and I keep going like I could have stayed at home and paid $12.99 a month for Netflix and gotten a better sense of entertainment. But what I go to the theater for is that human connection. And if there's not a sense of, if I wasn't there, this would change it, that's what it kind of bothers me. And I think the form that we have and where we're going, hopefully, or where people are starting to recognize is we've talked about before, is that authenticity is that thing that cannot be faked, even in the fact that we are fake on stage. It is not real. Um, it is not actually. It is the fiction to expose the truth. But you, human being, blood and cells and vessels and wants and needs are real in front of me. And me, human being, blood and cells and wants and needs are also here. And there's an interchange that is happening, hopefully, where you recognize that I'm here and I recognize that you're there, and then something happens between us. Unless you're just singing at me or you're just monologuing at me. And if I were to get up and go to the bathroom, you would just continue to do what you've practiced for 6 weeks in a small room somewhere.
And it feels like that.
It does a lot of times. And it's just, that's the, no wonder it feels like it's constantly dying.
It's like I don't need to be here.
Yeah.
And that is why I pay for my tickets to the theater so I can leave at intermission.
So you can leave when you want to leave.
I have the right to leave. I pay for this ticket. I have the right to come and go as I please. You have done me no favors, and I shall do you none. I am moving. I am moving forward with my life. So a human connection.
Yeah.
That's what theater's for.
Yeah. And I think what is part of the disconnect is, what does that mean, human connection? How is that made? Because you could argue that, well, I'm here in a dark room watching you perform. There's a human connection being made. I am witnessing what you're doing. There's a human connection being made, and I'm saying, but really,
Well,
do you
what is
feel
so then you have to
connected?
define what a human connection is. What is a human connection?
Well, I think this is what I'm
It's
saying. Like
it
this is where what we are researching. This is what we are looking at with our work, with work that we do outside. Like this is our next 50-year struggle. Is we've hit the edge of what we can do entertainment wise and story wise, parable wise with our audience. Well, what else are we going to do? We're just going to keep on trying to put more technology on stage and more explosions on stage and just bigger and better theatricality on stage, and that's going to be it for the audience? No, they want something else. They want community, and we
but
keep making audience.
it's an aesthetic value though. So it's like that's almost saying that all theater has to be one aesthetic value.
No, not at all. But what I am saying is, so much of theater is currently one aesthetic value. The theater that we see today is mostly like what it was 50 or 70 years ago. If
It's so
right,
depressing.
exactly.
No,
If
wait a minute. So what? So okay. So what were we seeing 50 or 70 years ago? So that's the question. What is the aesthetic value that no longer translates or transfers human experience, human connection in 2021?
I would say the proscenium stage, the fourth wall, a darkened theater, plays that
Hmm.
don't involve me in some way or recognize my being there. Um, you know, plays that happen around a couch around your problems. Plays that don't take me into account after the play is over with or take me into account before the play is there. Um, I mean, so much of it has to do with space and access and who I see on stage or don't see on stage. I mean, I'm not, I'm not calling for participation. That's sometimes awful. Even though Sleep No More has been one of the best, kind of participatory theater, immersive theater has been one of the very, very different things that has come out that would be very different than
And
what we
there's
saw 7 years
Fuerza
ago.
Bruta. What was it called? Fuerza Bruta?
Fuerza Bruta. Fuerza
Yeah.
Bruta de la Guardia. Yeah. That's pure
Yeah, De La
spectacle.
Guardia, yes.
Pure spectacle. Pure
Did
spectacle.
you get grabbed at De La Guardia?
I did not get grabbed. I feel very disappointed.
I got grabbed, lifted up,
Nice.
taken away. It was wonderful. Okay, so I I actually when you said when the first thing you said was the fourth wall, like that really resonated for me. Like I was like because when you hit because like when you said it, my dramaturgical mind went into the etymology of it, and I was like,
Colonial.
oh, oh yeah, why the fuck would we continue that old colonized view of performance?
Yeah.
It's an imperial design,
But that's
and
why
it's not from the origins of human
theater.
connection.
No, exactly. Exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like our book club, our first two book club members, if Amiri Baraka or Clifford Odets were to come back and be alive today, it would look like the theater that they were seeing when they were alive in the 1960s and in the 1930s. And
Oh
that's
my
crazy because
God.
you can't say that about the other art forms. You can't say that
Yeah.
about painting. You can't say that about
Music.
music. You can't say that about dance, but theater still looks the same, with the exception of a couple of very specific things that we should be going more in the direction of. But the majority of the money, the training, the time, our spaces, our resources are going into the same kind of theater that was very popular in the 19th century.
Wow. Wow. That's huge. For me, that's big because I already don't teach in that value system, but
Yeah,
like to like state it in the realm of like what were they doing 50 or 70 years ago that we don't need anymore?
yeah,
The fourth wall,
yeah.
the proscenium stage. What else, Adam Marple?
Well, what is it that those who go to the temples and sit in the audience side of things in Bali? What is it? What is it? What is it? What is it for them? What is that experience for them? Not the
It's for the
performers. We understand.
gods,
Yeah,
and the human beings get to witness the performance for the gods.
yeah. Isn't there a crisis in our health and our soul right now? We don't have to necessarily believe in a god, but isn't there something that we could be doing that could point out what is bigger and greater than us, and that makes us that brings commonality, that makes that vertical connection and horizontal connection. Worship has
Mm.
not dimmed. Churches, synagogues, mosques, they have not dipped. Sporting events have not dipped. So people are finding that horizontal connection. People are finding that vertical connection. And theater is the place where I think both of them can exist.
I love this. I love this horizontal connection being I mean, if you literally look at see yourself horizontally, and that if it goes straight up, how if it goes straight up out into the universe, like how far does it go? So if you're like an antenna that is like opened up to all of that possibility and channeling it through the physical body that you are working with in a role, my God, there's taxi
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. Right. That's what we keep stressing over and over again is that we want to train for Toxu, but Toxu has
Yeah,
to be cultivated in
invited.
space,
It's got to be
invited.
invited.
It's got to be in a proscenium stage with a fourth wall. I don't think I've ever seen Toxu in that space.
I've experienced big emotional um commitment. Let me think about this. Let me think about this. Taksu in a proscenium stage.
With a fourth wall.
The problem with the proscenium stage is that the audience isn't allowed to energetically fully contribute to the performance.
Yeah.
So there is a natural stasis that get happens inside of the audience field.
I've seen some
Yeah,
phenomenal performances.
yeah, me
I've seen
too.
some phenomenal performances, but it was still felt like if I wasn't there, it'd still be a phenomenal performance. There's only a couple of
Mm.
times. No, I was just thinking like Ari Manushkin's Les Ephemeres, one of the most profound experiences I've seen in the theater. But it wasn't a proscenium. The the audience were in risers facing each other with a lane in between. It was that kind of theater. So we were looking at each other and down onto the performance, not a proscenium.
Mm.
We were recognized. We were seen by the actors. We were seen by the other audience members. In a proscenium, no, I don't think so because I'm in the dark and I can get up and leave. And maybe if I'm loud, the actor will know that I've gone. But energetically, I can't connect with them, and they definitely can't connect with me specifically. Can't see me. I'm not supposed to be seen. If I'm not supposed to be seen, then I'm not
Mm.
important. If I'm not important, then wow, that's a horrible way to talk to
Well,
your audience.
do you see how that is a an imperial colonialist design?
Of course. Of course.
And I think, okay, so well, let's look about it in this way. Well, if it's before film and television, it's before photography. So it was a way of framing an aesthetic value for the gaze and pleasure of the observer, the creation of art by the imperialist white supremacist capitalist patriarchy because they couldn't create themselves. They named it art. But when you start to go to like, indigenous cultures where you're looking at Africa, the entire continent, you're looking at Indonesia, you're looking at Southeast Asia, you're looking at India, you're looking at uh, areas where art is a part of communication as opposed to an aesthetic mantle to worship. But it is worshipped
Mm-hmm.
because it's who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Like we dance, we sing, and that's just what we do, as opposed to, oh, that's a dance. Oh, that's a song. That's a voice. That's a body. That's a good dance that has a value now. That's a bad dance. That's ballet. That's arabesque. That's opera. That's pointillism. That has that, oh wow, they're not using a canvas for a painting. Ooh. But our the species has been painting on rocks before we had canvas. Is that not a painting?
I was actually
But
just reading something today where they were talking about the cave paintings in Lascaux. So the where they blew the red dye on their hands, and they were and the guy was actually arguing that this was actually the first spectator. This was the first performance. That in that moment,
mm,
it was the first time that they had seen themselves. By doing that and leaving their mark, they could stand back and see their presence, see themselves in a way that, because mirrors didn't exist, maybe they could see a reflection in the water, but to stand back and go, and everybody else to stand back and go, oh yeah, Grog, that's Grog's hand. So performance or
mm.
non-performance, but being a spectator, the first spectator was that in that respect.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I
I
was
mean,
here.
yeah, and that's I have a colleague at Yale that used to talk about. She's no longer there. Um, she's talked about graffiti and how she loved graffiti because like it's almost like, in Arrival when when their tentacle thing like hits up against the surface that she
Mhm.
has her hand on, and she said, "Now that's a response."
Yeah.
And it's like this concept of what she was talking about, like she loves graffiti because that's real expression. That's connected to real need. That's connected to real desire to be seen and to be recognized. The subterfuge of putting it on an institutional building is a way of taking back and repurposing the surface,
Mm.
repurposing the space,
Yeah.
repurposing the object.
I have to, let me see if I can find this. When I was in Beirut last year, God, 2 years ago? No, last year, 2 years ago. God, I can't believe this. Um, Ridiculous. So Beirut is war torn to this day. I mean, technically, the civil war kind of hasn't ended, but you go around Beirut and there's just bombed out buildings and bullet holes and just the after effects of this war that has gone on for 20, 30 years now. And the Lebanese people are some of the most amazing people because they live with that in their soul every single day. And so they treat every single day as it could be their last. So they give it their all. They give everything to whatever they're doing. And I saw some of the most incredible art there. And I went to this space, the Zukak Theater, and they said that that they found so much of the theater that's being done there is being done in spaces that people have basically given up on. There's no real government oversight, so there's just a lot of squatting and making work, which is phenomenal. And so they say when they found that space, it was destroyed, it was bombed out. They had to wash blood off the walls. They had to really, and it was a gorgeous space that clearly some architects had come in and really done some amazing stuff. And they said that even with all of that stuff in there, it took a long time for the energy of that space to change. It was after their first performance that then they had exercised those goats, and they said they have to heal a space. Their job as theater artists is to heal a space, underline its structure and its reason. And I thought, what a beautiful
I love
way
that.
of thinking of what theater's purpose is, what theater's job can do to heal a space, underline its structure and its reason. And now
I love that.
nobody thinks about the blood, nobody thinks about the bullet holes, nobody thinks about what that building was or who used to live there. Now it's Zukak Theater. It's repurposed, and it's not about forgetting what had happened, but it's about not living in that tragedy and redefining its purpose of going forward. This is a place of healing and art and life. This was a place of death, but now this is a place of life. And I loved that. I love that. I love that. You do some amazing, amazing work there.
Well, the walls respond to the bodies in the room. There's an energetic relationship to space. You know, we feel it when we go into a cathedral, the prayer that
Mm-hmm.
happens in those spaces, in a mosque, in a temple. We the prayer and human energy that is constantly being generated in those spaces. The walls contain the vibration.
That's why Bali feels the way that it feels, because there's prayer going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week from the beginning of time. Yeah.
Exactly. And that
Yeah.
the Balinese understand that the energetic um, uh, makeup of the structural form that we're calling a wall or a
Mm-hmm.
stone, there's life. The animism is that it's a soul, that's
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
There's energy in it.
Yeah.
Everything has energy. And they understand it on such a profound level
Yeah.
and have made it quite basic so that the human being can feed it. So it's moved away from the concept of the intellect. So this is the thing. So this is also what we're talking about with the fourth wall is like, and and I mean this. You know me, colonists, imperialists, white people like to talk about shit. They like to make fucking. They like to make fucking contracts. They like to fucking have a meeting. They want to fucking contextualize before anything happens. Black folks, people of color, brown people, indigenous people, we're action driven. The plant is actually going to wilt if we don't water it now.
Well, we should have a committee to talk about who would water it, where the water is going to come
Exactly.
from. Yeah. Yeah.
Girl, girl. And I feel like theater, a lot of theater is around it operates around that same system.
Yeah.
As opposed to going to see a masquerade in an African village, you don't have box office.
Right.
You don't have marketing. You don't have
Can,
to take a photo of the market of the masquerade 6 months before the masquerade happens so that people
yeah.
will show up.
Can I get 2 tickets for tonight's healing ceremony? I'm here. I'm just passing through. I got to get on to the train and head back home. Is there a restaurant around here we can go beforehand and get something to eat? How long does it last?
And I think that's the death of the soul when you have to codify expression and life in that way. That's the beginning of the end. You know, when we name because we talk in the way of like as soon as something's observed, the matter changes. As soon as something's named, it loses its value. So by even having a word theater, devalues the relationship and interaction. And this is why the Balinese don't have any words for theater.
Yes, as my arm will attest for all of eternity until I die.
For all of its jiggliness, it will be jiggly from
My
the day
jiggly
you
arm,
die.
my jiggly arm will
Yes.
let everybody know there is no word for Bali for theater.
There is no word for theater, but doesn't that make sense though?
Of
As
course,
soon
and
as
that's a
you
great
name it,
story
it
I get to
doesn't have
have. Yeah,
its resonance,
yeah.
right? I think we need to go take a break
Okay, sure.
and come back with some provocations. And, we're going to continue this conversation around theater because this is the year for it.
Yeah, yeah. We're still defining it, and we're still trying to. And as we've started today, we're trying to figure out, well, then what's it for? If we can define it as the live, in-person human experience of phenomena that creates temporary alternate realities, what's it for then? Why do that? Why is that important? Why should we spend time on that?
Oh,
Why should
that's
we?
right. Taylor didn't like the word temporary.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, even if you extend it to several days, it's still temporary.
It's still
It's not
it's
forever.
no, it wasn't temporary. I think it was alternate reality. I, I want to have a
Oh,
further
alternate
conversation.
realities. That's right.
I want to have a further conversation with him because he brought up Hans Thielman, um, post traumatic, and I
Mm.
think this still, I think this even if it's real, it's an alternate reality because it's been set in a place, in a time,
Yeah.
and so this is not going to continue. At some point, it will have to end. Even if I am actually milking a goat on stage, and that's my whole purpose is to milk a
Yeah.
goat. The goat doesn't live here and I don't live
It's still
here.
it's still an alternate reality
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're not on a farm watching someone milk a goat so they can refill the bottles and feed,
yeah, yeah.
whomever buys
Uh,
the bottles.
because I'm on stage, I am a performer. Because I agreed to bring my goat here, I have agreed to perform, and because now I've taken on the semiotics of any goat farmer in history or whatever. Why I'm using milking a goat because it's real. I don't know what happens in real time. I don't know.
Well, it also makes me think of that conversation that we had years and years and years and years ago of like, are those women in Thailand performance artists or is it another thing? Is it pornography? All the things that they do with their genitalia.
Yeah,
Remember, I was like, is that performance art? I was like, I feels like performance art because it's quite fucking sensational what they're able to do. It's spectacle,
yeah, yeah.
right? But but the conversation is, but do they look at it? Are they isolating it for performance in that way? But it is a performance.
It goes back to, do they think themselves as performers or do they think themselves
That's the
as,
thing.
yeah.
That's the thing.
I mean, and in a Schechner way, we can, or a Eugenio Barba way, we can say what they are, but unless they think that they are, then they're not.
How could you not think you're a performer when you're shooting things out of your vagina? That's a performance.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I that was pretty unbelievable.
Well, I mean, not to go down this road, but I think settled law in at least the United States for uh, uh, adult film actors was that this is free speech. I am a performer. This is my
Yeah.
art that I'm doing, and I argue the same thing for
Well,
those.
because it's not real sex because I mean the different angles, the like the you know the
There's a
where you're
craft. There's
dealing
a
with
craft to it. We can.
it's a craft. There's a
We don't.
craft to it. There's a craft to porn. There
Yeah,
is a craft. I mean, there is. I
yeah.
mean, even the way it's shot will give you a different sensation. It's like, and that's that slippery slope. That's that Black Mirror slippery slope, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
From theater to porn.
That's right, kids. Tell your parents you're gonna become an actor, and it's just a slippery slope to porn.
Oh my God. And then it sounds like those fundamentalists, like those whores, those actors are all whores. That pornography, the performance on stage is pornographic exploitation
and that's
expression. Blah, 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 blah.
and that's
Yeah.
why we have been associated with prostitutes from time immemorial. I mean,
Hello.
yeah,
Well, the fools and the whores.
that's we mean our constituency, our audience.
Our constituency, the fools and the whores. Well, that's the thing. The fools and the whores they go through everyone's doors. They're
Amen.
they're invited in everyone's room.
Amen. There you go.
Okay, so let's take a break and then
Okay.
come back with some provocations.
Okay. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen and non-binary conforming individuals, you are listening to the stereo sounds of JDB, Jack David Burmeister. And we're back. Wow, Jack. We're
Yo,
back to provocations. We
we
are
are.
provocations.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
have any
yeah.
provocations?
Yeah, I'm reading
Oh, you
something right
do?
now. Yeah. Oh, here it
Okay.
goes. Call to prayer. Yeah, I'm reading
Just in
something right
time.
now. And it's difficult, but I think it's interesting enough for me to mention it. I know what. I hope this comes up on YouTube. I hope this. Yes, yeah. We've got these cool new features because this is something important for Riverside to have the thumbs up. Yeah.
Oh, do I have it too?
No,
No, it doesn't work for me.
it doesn't work for you. Um. Anyway,
What
this
about what
book that
about what about my
your yeah your millennial heart.
my heart?
No, your Gen Z
Got my
heart.
millennial heart.
Cool. There you go.
Oh, Gen Z. Gen
Gen
Z
Z
heart.
heart. So I'm reading this book, and it's difficult, but I think it's
Uh-oh. So
it
thanks
leads.
for the warning. So
Yeah,
what, chapter 3 is when you start to get into the book?
just don't read the introduction. The introduction, like, dude,
Will the introduction hurt me?
introduction hurt me, and it would hurt anybody. I think it's just it's one of those things where, like, as an academic, you know
Who
that this
wrote
person,
it?
this guy named Alan Reed, he's a British guy, he's a British white guy, he's a British old white guy, but
Okay.
he also, you could
Okay.
just tell it from his introduction alone that he was an academic writing for other academics, but the thesis and the idea in there is good enough to, like, don't start on the introduction. Anyway, it's called Theater in the Expanded Field: 7 Approaches to Theater in the Expanded Field.
How does he spell his name?
Alan Reed, Lead. Just look up Theater in the Expanded Field. And don't read the introduction.
Alan Lead.
Reed, Read.
Oh. Let's see if I can find it.
Anyway, this book is from 2012, and he's having
It's
the
called
same
what?
conversation. Theater in the Expanded Field.
Okay.
And it's from 2012, and he's having this conversation before COVID, before George Floyd, before technology and all these things. So he's already preceding and asking these questions of going, like, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? But in a very, very academic way. So just a fair warning to anybody who does read it. It's very academic, but there's a beating heart underneath all of it. So check it out. I'm reading it. We can read it together.
Well, what's the beating heart?
The beating heart is why have we given up our definition of theater to something very small? And Richard Schechner gets to say performance is this big category that this other stuff is happening. Why are we making theater small? Why are we making theater very spectacle-based, proscenium-based theater for the bourgeois, proletariat? Theater is bigger than we think it is his thesis basically. Theater can do more is what his thesis is.
Okay.
Budi, do you have a provocation or a question?
I do. My provocation is when you go see your next theater performance, I want you to try to decipher what is it for? What are they doing this for?
Yeah.
Plain and simple. What are they doing this for? Are they doing this for money? Or are they doing this for a connection? Are they doing this for your culture? Are they doing this for a clique of people? Are they doing it for a group of individuals that understand the aesthetics of the performance that they do in this particular town? What is it for?
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Your next theater performance, I want you to ask yourself the question, what is this for?
Yeah.
So how will we know they did this at a Marple?
They're going to go to speakpipe.com/Theater of Others. Again, speakpipe.com/Theater of Others. Theater with an R-E. Theater of Others, all one word. Leave a 90-second voice message. We'll play it on air. We're missing some questions. We want to connect with people. But if you also want to send us an email, you can send it to podcast@theaterofothers.com. We are also contactable on Instagram, Facebook, and our website.
We're on the gram, y'all.
But the only way you're going to know about these conversations that we're having or these book clubs or these interviews is if they do what, Budi?
Subscribe. Baby, we come to your inbox week.
That's right.
week. Like rain, sleet, snow, We are there, popping it like it's hot.
Popping it like it is hot.
And then you can be like my Uber driver, and you give me 5 stars, I give you 5 star, 5 star, 5 star, 5 star. It's a win some, everyone wins game, and it's all in the. I feel like there's Pepper's ghosts on my window, on my window.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got Pepper's ghosts in my window. Oh, we're I'm living.
We're going for spectacle. We're going for 19th century spectacle here on the Theater of Others podcast.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. Lord have mercy. And if you like us even more than that, you can leave us a comment. And then if you like us even more, you can even say in the comments, I wish I could give them 5.8 stars because they're so good. 5.8. It goes into the algorithm. And then, you know what happens. We move from the top 5% podcasts in the world to the top 1% podcasts in the world. And Adam Marple, you know.
I do.
You know what happens.
I do know. We got that email confirming
when that
it.
happens.
Yeah, for sure.
We get that email that's confirming it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know who's going to come?
I do. I'm looking forward to it. Oprah.
Exactly. And you know who follows Oprah?
Of course. Who has to follow
Virgo.
Oprah? Beyonce, the Virgo, of course. Yeah.
Beyonce, exactly. And Michelle Obama's already coming, so we're set.
We're set,
y'all.
But we got to become
1% podcast in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we need your help, y'all. We can't do this without you.
It's true. True fact. Truer things have never been said.
I love you, Adam.
I love you too.
Marple.
I love you, Budi Miller.
I love you, Adam Christopher Marple.
I love you, Iputu Budi Miller.
Will I see you next week?
Well, you're traveling, so you tell me. And tell Jack as well.
Jack, will I see him next week? Well, for y'all, we'll be in your inbox next week through Rain to the Snow. So check in, subscribe, and share.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Theater of Others podcast. Make sure to visit our website, theaterofothers.org, where you can subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. A special thank you to Purple Planet for the music you've heard. The Theater of Others creates a shared community of artists and audiences for the purposes of exploring the most profound issues of our lives and times. We believe the play watches the audience. The audience is necessary, and they are witness to what happens. And you get to be witness to us making that happen. The purpose of this podcast is to open up our process and let you in. We're peeling back the curtain, so to speak, and encouraging you to follow along, to ponder, prod, and question, to join us and criticize us if need be. Being a witness is no passive task and requires much from you. Are you up for the journey? Be sure to tune in next week for our next journey.